I'm really sorry to say this, but there's a chance that you, as a caregiver, will believe that you're not the best person to run a physical rehabilitation program in your own home for your stroke survivor. I wish this wasn't true, but I know that this is probably the situation because there's no magic formula out there to try and change your own mindset and your own preconceived ideas. Up until my book, Lights, Mirrors, Action, was published, no such thing was available to convince you of these qualities. But there are some very, very sensible and very easy to understand reasons as to why you have the abilities and why you are the best person to run a program in your own home. And that's what I want to convince you of in this video. So if you want to know what those reasons are, then this video is definitely for you. Hi there, I'm Dr. Kenneth Monaghan. I'm a neuroplasticity expert and a physical therapist with a specialty in neurology rehabilitation. I'm absolutely passionate about trying to make your home the best place to carry out a physical rehabilitation after your stroke. So, supervising a physical rehabilitation program in your own home, it's not so much about knowing the correct ingredients of a program, knowing the exercises, knowing exactly what should be carried out, but it's just as much and probably more importantly about the belief you have in your own abilities. And I'm sure you come across the same as I do, people and friends, colleagues who seem to have an unbelievable confidence in their own abilities, sometimes even despite very apparent flaws that they have. And this is not an easy thing to have. But the good news is that it is possible and you are capable as a caregiver of improving your own self belief and believing that you can work hard and you can run a program in your own home. Because you have the ability to pass on important information to your stroke survivor as long as you know the correct information to give them. Well, that's what Lights, Mirrors, Action is all about. And it will show you and it can convince you that as a caregiver, you definitely are the best person to supervise a program in your own home. Your stroke survivor needs you. So let's discuss what those qualities are and let's discuss why you are the best person to supervise a home program. So I have 5 reasons. And number one is it's your ability to be able to learn a sense of of control a sense of control for your stroke survivor. You're probably going to feel that your sense of not being in control and not knowing how to make your stroke survivor content is going to be a huge concern for you. I suppose when people ask me, where does my confidence come in terms of developing a physical rehabilitation program for stroke survivors, I say to them that that confidence was not always there, but that confidence came from my experience of working with stroke patients, my experience of working in different countries, working in research, working over 32 years with the different technologies, innovative medical devices that I've seen, working with a team of people who I trust completely and who've taught me so many ideas. And I suppose some of that confidence just rubs off on you, especially when you know what you're doing. So, with that experience, and you'll be the same as a caregiver in your own home, you'll start to see patterns emerging, and you'll start to see that you're actually able to get positive results from your stroke survivor. And also, as you read the chapters in Lights, Mirrors, Action, you'll see the correct instructions that you need to supervise a program in your own home. And this will give you confidence. So, you can do that. You can read the information and you can pass it on to your stroke survivor. And this will give them the best chance of their best recovery. And it'll make you feel confident that you're doing the right thing. So that's why Lights, Mirrors, Action was written, because Normally, that type of information is not available for caregivers. The second quality that you bring, or that you are capable of developing, is the actual innate qualities that you possess inside you. You have enormous talents that you probably don't think about, and that your stroke survivor needs. So many of these talents that you innately possess include being organized, being a good listener, being dependable, and probably the most important, in my opinion, is your ability to be trustworthy. I thought, as an example, it would be a good thing to mention what one particular stroke survivor mentioned to me when we talked a number of months ago about this idea of being trustworthy. And here's what she said. She said, I think probably the most important thing is having someone who understands the after effects of the stroke. Most people just think, you can walk now, so what is the problem? But because Mum is so close, she can see things that crop up, like my foot's tendency to curl in when I get tired, making it hard to walk, or how I just can't wear sandals because of the curling of my foot. She understands it's not as straightforward as it first seems. And that's what one stroke survivor wrote and told me about that relationship she has with her mum, that trustworthy feeling, that trust nature of their relationship. And that, to me, is the biggest quality that you possess. So it's very important that you realize that you have those abilities, because if you don't, then you're going to struggle to be able to run the program at home. So, as we say, it's nice to have someone who understands what's going on, because it's exhausting trying to explain things, how things are. And just one important point, of course, as you probably imagine, there's a very thin line between giving somebody encouragement and being a little bit nagging the whole time. Sometimes that can annoy stroke survivors, and it can kind of lose that little bit of trust that you've gained with them. My example of trust comes from my own Neuroplasticity Research Group. I work with a group of researchers in the Atlantic Technological University in Ireland, where I'm from. And that group consists of enormously talented electronic engineers, clinical psychologists, industrial designers, health promotion experts, physical therapists. And we work as a team, and probably our most enjoyable part of the week is when we brainstorm on a Friday afternoon. But the most important thing about that team that I've learned over the last 10 years is the incredible trustworthiness that I have in each of them. And I think that's why we're successful. It's why we've been able to develop new innovative medical devices and technology. And it's those technologies and those ideas and those innovative therapies that we bring to Lights, Mirrors, Action. And as I've said in a previous video, all of these therapies can be done in a very cost-effective way in your own home. When I say cost-effective, I mean no more than $20 or $30, 20 or 30 euros is it's going to cost you for the equipment that you need to be able to carry out your stretching, your walking, your cross-education effect, your mirror therapy, and your sensory substitution therapies. So we've had our success within that research because of that trusting relationship that we have. So point number 3 is you have the ability to reinterpret events for your stroke survivor. And simply reinterpreting events is something that's really, really important when you're trying to go through a physical rehabilitation program at home. As a caregiver or a stroke survivor, there's no point continually focusing on the negatives that are happening and on the fact that your recovery isn't complete, even though you wish it was and you're trying your best. you have to realize that your recovery is going to happen slowly after that initial acceleration phase. So when we get into that plateau phase, when motivation is hard to keep going, that's when sometimes you need to reinterpret events. And reinterpreting events is just acknowledging the fact that every single movement, every single step you take, every balance exercise, every strengthening exercise that you undertake, that's another important step on your journey. And that's what's going to give your brain the best chance of developing neuroplasticity and rewiring itself. Just for those who are interested, over the last 12 years, I've probably read about 130 inspiring books. And one of those, the second that I mention in these video series, is a book by a man called Ralph Dobelli. Ralph's book is called The Art of the Good Life. And for those that are interested, Ralph talks very humorously in his books about reinterpreting events in his own life. So things like getting parking tickets or standing in long lines at the supermarket, or he takes a sensible approach to how you can change your mindset around those things. And then we don't get so bothered, we don't get fussed. And this is what we have to do with a stroke survivors. We have to reinterpret the negative feelings that they feel when they're not getting the recovery in the accelerated time that they want. And you as a caregiver, you're very capable of actually doing that. Lights, Mirrors, Actions will give you some practical ideas on how you can manage to do that. Number 4, it's your ability to encourage your stroke survivor to work hard. So in a previous video, I've spoken about the 10,000 hours rule principle that really started me off about why and why I believe that rehabilitation in your own home can work so well, because you have the ability to carry out hard work and lots of repetitions of therapies that are beneficial. And you as a caregiver, you have the ability to organize your stroke survivor. You have the ability to, timetable them. You have the ability to take the programs that are designed in Lights, Mirrors, Action, the morning program, for example, and the evening program, and you have the ability to remind your stroke survivor to keep going when they find motivation hard to achieve. An example that I give in Lights, Mirrors, Actions is of the famous actress Sharon Stone. Sharon Stone in 2001, she suffered a severe stroke at the age of 43. And she tells us in numerous interviews that it took her a whole 7 years to receive her best recovery. What's interesting in those interviews is that it's not fancy technology, it's nothing special that was the secret to her recovery, but she tells us it was hard work. She worked incredibly hard to do the repetitions, to do the exercises, to do the walking, to do the balance. And the message is that it doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have, how much celebrity status you have to work hard. But if you do, you give yourself the best chance of that recovery and the best place and probably the most practical place you can do that is actually in your own home. I'll describe those morning and evening programs in future videos, and you'll be able to, we'll discuss those for you. And of course, they're mentioned in the book. And then finally, number 5 reason, it's your ability to brainstorm with your stroke survivor about your beliefs and your best qualities that you possess, and what qualities they possess. It's ability to brainstorm this that will really convince your stroke survivor that they can receive the best recovery they need in their own homes. So we'll see in Lights, Mirrors, Actions the kind of questions that are important to ask your stroke survivor, but probably 5 of them which are important are the following. So number 1, how can you convince your stroke survivor to believe in and commit to this rehabilitation program? Number 2 question, what type of program do you think will be needed? Again, we brainstorm this and we talk about this before we think about starting a program. Number 3 question is, what do you yourself believe is not possible for your stroke survivor? Now, discussing this is very important, and it brings up and lets us know what's in both people's minds and mindsets. Number 4, what is the most feared thing about trying to supervise a rehabilitation program in your own home? And it's important that you address these things, because if we know what you fear, then we can address that. We can certainly relieve those fears. And finally, what qualities do you possess that make you an ideal person to supervise a home-based rehabilitation program? And it's vital that you as a caregiver and your stroke survivor, that you both brainstorm those questions, because the answers you give each other and just the process of discussing it will reinforce for you that trustworthiness in your relationship, and it'll give you confidence that you're starting out on a solid footing before you start. So you have to get into the mind of your stroke survivor and understand how they feel about starting the program at home. Thank you very much for listening. I intend to discuss in another video why your home is the ideal place to undergo your physical rehabilitation program. Can I ask you, if you found value in this video, will you please write me a comment and let me know what you thought was valuable. Please feel free to make suggestions regarding other issues or concerns that you may have that I may be able to help with. And thank you very much for listening. I'll chat to you soon in another video.